Hey, this is Tim Whalen, creator of Purpose Playbooks. I need to make sure that I'm clear about a few things before we get started.
Yeah.
I am a financial planner, but I will never give investment advice or recommend any investment products in this show or in any other public space.
I'm not talking about that.
Everyone has a different financial situation, and you should never implement any investing strategy, product, or advice without consulting a qualified financial professional.
And I hope you guys feel the same doggone way I feel.
This podcast is purely for educational purposes only. There are more disclosures at the end of the podcast.
What else do you want to know?
Enjoy the show.
So today's question comes from Armin, who is a 17-year-old, so young guy who wants to be a corporate lawyer. He's been attending, or at least taking some classes at a local community college, and has saved up $7,000 cash. And he wants to transfer those credits here coming up shortly to a state school. Now, here's the conundrum, though. The state school that he wants to attend is 30 miles away. So the question is regarding the $7,000. And really his two options are either to use the $7,000 to purchase a car, which he doesn't have now, to travel to the school, or is it better for him to move to a dorm or apartment on campus and use the money that he saved towards the higher costs that would cost to live there? Now, another, part of this story is that he also has a part-time job currently at a law firm in town where he's living. So really the question is what to use the funds for, whether it's a car to travel back and forth or actually move on campus of the school that he's looking at attending. Your thoughts on that?
So he's asking essentially, do you want to have the college experience or do you want to have this part-time job and save the money on college experience in order to live closer to home and work at the law firm? So when you think about, we're talking about apples and oranges in a lot of ways, right? The college experience, I really enjoyed my college experience. I thought it was really helpful. I think I grew a lot during my 4 years at college. So it's hard to put that down. I think it's a great thing to be able to have, but he's saying, okay, I've got this money. I can throw it towards my experience, or I can stay home and have the same education, but also have this part-time job. So I think he should really consider staying at the law firm, because when he's thinking about trajectory and what's more important when it comes to finding the right job right out of college, what's more important, the degree or the connections that you have in the industry? I mean, it has to be the connections. And so if he was to devote a lot of time, resources, and energy resources into being the most valuable assistant or intern or whatever it is he's doing at this law firm over the next 2 years, I think that gives him a lot more options and a lot more flexibility when it comes time to search for a job after college. Now, I think sometimes when you have this question, should I do this or this? Oftentimes there might be a third door. So is there a possibility for him to move closer to campus and take a job at a law firm there? And I think those are things that you should research. Also, the cost of living at the university is not going to be $7,000. So he's probably talking about, putting some of that money towards living and then also taking on some student loans and doing that for the sake of having a college experience where he could live a little bit cheaper at home and have this commute. So, I mean, hard to really balance and say exactly what you should do, but I really think you should be considering having a lot of good experience in your industry and holding on to this part-time job or finding another one that's similar.
So zooming back out on some of the things that you said there, how is it that you weigh, the financial cost of college versus the life experiences that you get there? And I've really heard people in both camps. You'll have the people who are all about the economics of college. And obviously with the rising costs of college today, does it financially make sense for kids to be taking on student loans or parents to be forking over huge sums of cash in order to get this degree? But then on the opposite side, you have people who really value the experience, the 4 years that they get to spend on campus. How do you kind of weigh those out, in your own mind?
In Armin's case, I believe he's saying that he's only got 2 years left. He's been taking classes at a community college. Now we've got 2 years of potential college experience. So I think it's tricky. I think you were even talking to a lawyer recently that said, hey, I could teach you to do what I'm doing in in a week, and I didn't need this fancy law degree to know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so therefore, having connections and getting the right job, and sometimes more valuable than even that degree, which is kind of strange to think. But yeah, I mean, think about how much money you're putting into that degree and then what the return on that is. I mean, I think it's a blessing when you have a situation where parents have saved, or, a person is saved for their college and they get to do it and they get to pay for it without having any lingering debt, on the other side of it. And you really get a chance to say, okay, hey, this is a great experience that I can have. I think it's something you could take advantage of. And I think it was a very valuable experience for me. When we're talking about financially, what makes sense here, I think you might consider taking an approach that my brother did. So my brother did community college in, near a town that has a state school. And so he was able to plug in with a lot of the social networks and friend groups, and he was involved in a Christian organization right on campus with a lot of the people that were attending the state school, but were not necessarily, he wasn't paying the tuition, he wasn't paying the living expenses for being on campus. And so I think he calls it his college hack. So think about creative ways that you could find a solution in between, where you are able to plug into those social networks and you are able to get some of the valuable pieces of the college experience without having to actually move on campus and cough up all that money and leave your job that's really giving you good connections in the industry. So that's what I think. The opinions and views expressed here are for informational purposes only. This material is educational in nature and should not be deemed as a solicitation of any specific product or service. All investments involve risk and a potential loss of principal. We don't provide legal, accounting, or tax advice, but happily coordinate our services and work together with our clients' professional advisors. For specific assistance, the services of an appropriate professional should be sought. Securities offered through the ON Equity Sales Company, member FINRA SIPC. One Way Financial, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45242. Phone number 513-794-6794. Investment advisory services offered through ON Investment Management Company.